Imagine a colossal floating city. 20 decks, gleaming restaurants, theaters, and thousands of carefree tourists on board. This ocean-going megaship, worth nearly $1 billion, seems like an impregnable fortress. But what happens if a storm front bursts onto the radars right in the path of this giant, and a colossal lead-blue wall of the churning Atlantic rises overboard? The power of nature versus the highest engineering achievements of humanity. Many think such an encounter is an automatic one-way ticket and a scenario for a disaster movie. But what are cruise companies really hiding about how their ships navigate through hellish storms? For many travelers, such a scenario seems like the ultimate nightmare. You buy tickets for a long-awaited trip, open the calendar, and freeze. Your travel dates fall right in the middle of the official hurricane season. Is this a fatal mistake that will turn your vacation into a fight for survival in the middle of the open ocean? Or a clever way to save thousands of dollars while experiencing an absolutely safe adventure? There is a colossal amount of myth surrounding the topic of storms on cruises, fueled by Hollywood blockbusters. However, if we peel back the cinematic drama and look behind the scenes of the modern cruise industry, the reality turns out to be much more technological, calculated, and impressive. To dispel the initial panic, we need to turn to hard, scientifically backed facts. The official hurricane season in the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Basin, and the Gulf of Mexico is an unavoidable climatic cycle. It starts on June 1st and lasts exactly until November 30th. During this period, the temperature of the ocean's surface waters reaches its peak, turning into a giant thermodynamic engine that fuels tropical cyclones. According to official statistics, the highest concentration of storm activity is traditionally expected along the east coast of the US, near the Bahamas, and in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. However, every year has its own unique meteorological profile. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration conducts a comprehensive analysis of satellite data, currents, and atmospheric pressure to create a forecast for the current year of 2026. And this data is a true reassuring manifesto for the tourism industry. According to forecasts, the probability that the season will be much quieter than normal is 55%. Another 35% accounts for completely standard, usual weather without any anomalies. And there is only a 10% chance that nature will truly rage, and there will be more storms than usual. In numerical terms, this means the formation of 8 to 14 named storms. Of these, only 3 to 6 will be able to accumulate enough energy to develop into full-fledged hurricanes. And, critically important, only 1 to 3 cyclones have the potential to reach the status of a major hurricane, Category 3 and above on the Saffir-Simpson scale, with wind speeds exceeding 178 kilometers per hour. These figures are significantly lower than the aggressive models of previous years. But what happens when the trajectory of one of these few storms inevitably intersects with the planned route of a cruise ship? The main postulate of modern maritime navigation, enshrined in international safety protocols. No cruise company will ever send its ship into the epicenter of a hurricane. It is not just a matter of preserving reputation, but also of protecting assets worth billions of dollars. The complete cancellation of a voyage due to bad weather is an extremely rare occurrence. Instead, captains and shore services begin a complex tactical game. A modern megaship is not a clumsy metal island. It is an incredibly powerful and maneuverable vessel. The cruising speed of modern liners easily exceeds 21 to 24 knots, about 40 to 44 kilometers per hour. For comparison, a tropical cyclone itself moves over the ocean's surface at an average speed of 15 to 25 kilometers per hour. From a physics standpoint, the ship is simply faster. It can outrun the storm, change course by 180 degrees, and bypass the zone of extreme turbulence in a wide, calculated arc. Today, a captain does not make decisions alone while looking through binoculars. Top cruise operators have their own onshore fleet operations centers. These are true analytical hubs where staff meteorologists, oceanographers, and routing specialists work. They receive data from satellites, ocean buoys, and radars in real time, calculating the movement of a storm front 5 to 7 days in advance with an accuracy of up to 1 mile. To understand how seriously the engineering strength of modern ships is tested, it is worth recalling the most famous incident of the last decade. There are no perfect meteorological forecasts, and a telling example of how technology withstands blind elements was the ordeal involving the innovative megaship Anthem of the Seas by Royal Caribbean. In February 2016, this giant ship departed from New York heading for the sunny Bahamas. Suddenly, the meteorological situation over the ocean changed drastically. Forecasters miscalculated the wind speed, and the liner sailed into what is known as a bomb cyclone, a storm that gained hurricane-force strength in a matter of hours. The vessel found itself right in the epicenter of the elements. Wind speeds reached over 185 kilometers per hour, and waves as high as a 3-story building, about 10 meters, rose overboard. What was happening on board at that moment? The captain activated the highest level of alert and ordered all 4,000 passengers to immediately lock themselves in their cabins. The liner experienced extreme rolling, tilting at angles up to 20 degrees. Hurricane-force winds damaged external equipment, and in public areas, furniture flew around and decorative panels shattered. However, the most important thing happened. The massive engines never stopped for a second. The life support systems worked perfectly, and the integrity of the hull remained completely unharmed. This incident proved to the whole world, even if a modern liner ends up in a true maritime hell, its margin of safety guarantees that it will withstand the blow and bring everyone home safely. But you can't just turn off the ocean, and if a storm is raging 100 miles away, the sea will still be rough, you might reasonably point out. And that is absolutely true. There is no perfect calm on the periphery of a cyclone. You will have to face ocean swells, but the physics of this process on board a liner is radically different from what you might expect. The secret lies in active stabilization systems. Modern ships are equipped with massive active underwater stabilizers. These are huge, fin-like wings that the computer control system extends from the lower part of the hull underwater. Gyroscopic sensors analyze the ship's tilt angle and the frequency of the oncoming wave in milliseconds. They automatically change the angle of attack of these underwater wings, creating a lifting force opposite to the force of the wave. This technology is capable of dampening up to 90% of the ship's roll. When a ship enters a turbulence zone, the captain activates a strict storm protocol based entirely on the laws of physics. The very first thing the crew does is eliminate the so-called free surface effect. To do this, water is immediately drained from all pools and hot tubs on the upper decks. And this is not at all about passenger comfort. Tons of water sloshing unpredictably from side to side at a great height can critically shift the center of gravity and disrupt the stability of the entire megaship. Therefore, empty pools are a pure engineering necessity to maintain perfect balance. Simultaneously, a complete lockdown of the external perimeters takes place. Exits to the open promenade decks are securely blocked by heavy watertight doors, and all lightweight items, such as plastic lounge chairs, are stowed away in advance, so that gale-force winds do not turn them into dangerous projectiles. Of course, under such conditions, everyday life on board also adapts to the elements. All large-scale shows that require perfect physical balance from performers, ice skating shows, acrobatics, or aerial gymnastics, are temporarily canceled. Instead, the entertainment hub seemingly retreats deep into the ship. All activity moves to the lower decks, where the rolling is felt the least. That is where musicians' performances are relocated, and the operations of restaurants and casinos are ramped up, creating an atmosphere of absolute coziness while the ocean churns behind thick glass. For those whose vestibular system is not accustomed to sea travel, this period can cause discomfort. A professional tip: avoid staying on the upper decks and in the forward part of the ship. Go down to the lower levels, as close as possible to the geometric center of the ship, where the amplitude of movement is minimal. And be sure to carry motion sickness medications such as Dramamine or special patches. When the elements interfere with your plans, it is important to know the financial rules. By contract, the company reserves the absolute right to alter the itinerary for safety reasons. and no compensation for ruined expectations is provided. A full refund is only possible when the cruise is entirely canceled before departure due to a closed port. In other cases, clear algorithms apply. If bad weather shortens your 7-day cruise to 5 days, the company will refund the money for those 2 lost days. If the liner simply steers clear of the storm and takes you to Mexico instead of the Bahamas, there will be no compensation for the route change. However, all port taxes for the missed cities will be refunded to your onboard account, which you can immediately spend on the ship. But the most desirable scenario for many tourists is a forced extension of their vacation. If the arrival port is temporarily closed due to a storm, the ship simply waits out the bad weather in the safe waters of the ocean. In this case, you receive extra days of luxurious relaxation on the liner absolutely free, paying only the standard daily gratuities for the crew during this bonus time. Traveling during hurricane season is always a game of probabilities, where the main threat is often not the ocean itself, but logistics on land. Your liner might be in perfect safety hundreds of miles away from the cyclone, but a storm hitting the coast can completely paralyze airport operations. Imagine this scenario. The ship is ready to set sail from Florida, but your flight is suddenly canceled due to severe weather. The liner will pull up its anchor strictly on schedule, and the cruise company will not refund your money for being late, as it is not responsible for airline operations. That is exactly why experienced travelers never embark on such trips without a reliable, specialized insurance policy. For example, from a company like TravelGuard. The ride insurance will become your true lifesaver. It fully compensates for financial losses due to flight cancellations or delays. Moreover, the insurance will cover all transportation costs to the next port on the itinerary, so you can easily catch up with your ship. And it will reliably protect you in the event of any medical emergencies or the need for a sudden evacuation. So, is it worth investing your money and time in a cruise between June and November? If you demand absolute predictability, require a minute-by-minute schedule, and cannot tolerate changes, this season is not for you. But if you have a flexible mindset, appreciate high marine engineering, and want to receive premium services at up to a 50% discount, hurricane season opens up unique opportunities. Half-empty decks, no queues, and highly personalized service become the reward for your bravery. The key is to approach the planning with a cool head. Study the forecasts, understand the physics of the ship, make sure to get insurance, and trust the professionalism of the crew. After all, every storm ends sooner or later, but the experience of meeting the elements aboard a technological masterpiece stays with you forever.